have this need for perpetual lambs, and then Jesus is the lamb to end all lambs, the sacrifice to end all sacrifice.
Sure. Welcome to the Bible in 1 Year podcast, brought to you by two Brits and aBible. Today is day 27, and we're going to be covering Exodus 28 and 29.
In Exodus 28, Aaron and his sons are chosen as priests, and God describes to Moses the priest's garments. In Exodus 29, God describes to Moses the consecration of Aaron and his sons and priests, and including details of offerings, morning and evening sacrifice.
Wonderful. That gets us started with, do you still call Aaron or are you Aaron? It's like the crisp chip thing. Like, I've got a mate here, Aaron, and I can't call him Aaron because he goes by Aaron, but I want to say Aaron.
Yeah. Well, you just need to tell him to sort it out, really, I'm afraid. It's clearly Aaron. Just, next time he says it's Aaron, you'll be like, no, it's not.
By the way,
I'm sorry.
It's
yeah.
YouTube now, it's official.
You've been living a lie, Aaron.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Cool. A little bit of a time killer at
Sorry.
this.
Sorry, Aaron. I didn't mean to come at you, but I did. So Kitty has claws.
Sure.
I don't know.
All right. Random starts this day. Sorry. Cool. I think you generally got more than I have to say about today, so I'm going to just sit here for a minute.
Sweet. Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, a few chapters ago, Moses was told to delegate, so you should probably do the same occasionally, right? Don't know. Anyway, it amazes me the quality of the clothing. So it's all described beautifully, and I just think that everything that we do and are is an opportunity to glorify God. And I just think that the fact that they have the finest clothing and things like that, someone skeptical might turn around and say, oh, they're just using God as an excuse to like nick all the best linens and whatever and wear them for themselves. But it's like, no, it's nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
It's an opportunity to represent God, and what an honor that is, and you should bring your best foot. And I don't know about you, but for me, when I get dressed up in a nice suit, and it's just been freshly dry cleaned or whatever, I just feel like the man. Feel like the man.
You probably feel about 5'8", don't you, mate, when you wear that?
5'8" or 5'9", somewhere in that region. It's weird, actually, isn't it? Because the audience couldn't tell that you're lanky git and I'm a stubby toe. But yeah, all 5'8" or 9 of me, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Depends if I'm wearing my high heels.
Man, it's true. You do, when you're wearing something nice, you just feel that little bit smarter, that little bit more confident. It's an incredible sort of psychological boost in it, really. And
it is.
Yeah, makes sense in there as well. What I love about all this stuff through here, and we kind of chatted on it, you did yesterday, about how we really want to try and pull some stuff out, even in these chapters where there's really not a lot of juice to it. It's just kind of a little bit dry. God cares about the finest little details. They are mentioned in his word. And for me, that just says he cares about the finest little details of my life. There's nothing that's too small for him to worry about, to care about, to get excited about. Like, I took my little boy to football today and he scored a goal and he is just so excited. And it's like, good job, kid. Like, you're full.
Oh, man.
Exactly.
That's so cool. I didn't realize that he'd scored a goal. That's awesome.
Yeah, he loves it, and he celebrates with the cross hands, which is just big for me. It's just the littlest thing. But I'm not going to be like, mate, that was a crap goal. The goalie wasn't even looking. He was pulling on his shirt and hanging on the frigging goalpost. Like, that's not what's important. You show the excitement for them because they're excited about it, and God's the same way with us.
Well, that's so true as well, because if you think even about just our human relationships, it's the little details that make things special, right? The little moments. It's not the big, it is the big stuff too sometimes, but even those tiny little things make a huge difference. And
yeah, and they say, isn't they? I'm just going to stop it just quickly. They say it's less about what's said with kids anyway, and it's more about how you make them feel. And I think that's so true. It's less about what God says to us. It's more about how he makes us feel when we're in his presence. And it's cool.
Absolutely. Something that I find amazing about the whole deal with Aaron being chosen to be this line of priests as well is the fact that in Exodus 32, spoiler, but obviously Aaron goes off and worships an idol, right? And it just amazes me that God knows full well that Aaron is going to do this, and yet he says, Exodus 28:43, this is to be a lasting ordinance for Aaron and his descendants. So he's far more faithful to us than we ever deserve or are to him.
That's huge, man. I love that point. I think we've spoken before about don't let your past sins dictate your future. I think this kind of, it epitomizes God being outside of time. Don't let your future sins dictate your present or dictate your further future or whatever like that. God knows we're all screw ups. Knows we're all going to mess it up again, probably. But don't, as and when you hit that road bump, don't let it derail you. Get straight back on the horse, keep going, keep pursuing your relationship with God, like David, right? That's what sets David apart from Solomon and other kings, is he screws up in a big old way, but he just jumps straight back in. He comes before God, he apologizes, he's genuine.
Yeah.
And it's huge.
I couldn't agree more. It's like Peter as well, right? Peter's a bit of a lout and an idiot a lot of the time. Pre-acts or whatever, he always dives in and he's always going for it. And yeah, I love that point, man. I'm also just proud of you for using the word epitomize. No, seriously, you've never been more attractive. I jump into Exodus 29, 38 and 39. This is what you are to offer on the altar regularly each day: 2 lambs, a year old. Offer one in the morning and the other at twilight. So it's a perpetual cycle of sacrifice that they have to undergo. And I think that foreshadows Jesus, because of course he is the perfect spotless lamb. He is the perfect sacrifice. And I just love that parallel that hundreds or thousands of years before Jesus here, right? You have this need for perpetual lambs, and then Jesus is the lamb to end all lambs, the sacrifice to end all sacrifice.
Sure. Yeah. Do you want to keep on going there? Because I know you wanted to chat a little bit here.
Yeah. So I didn't really know what an ephod was. I wasn't even sure if it was ephod or ephod, but I didn't know the ephod. Obviously I know what a robe and a tunic and a turban is and a sash or whatever. And then the breastplate interested me as well, because when I think of breastplates, I think of like Roman soldiers, I think of those big sort of armor things. So that, to me, that linked it to Ephesians, maybe the armor of God. This links to that point I made earlier about the clothing that you wear. It's a small detail potentially to us, but it's actually a big detail. There's nothing too small that God isn't interested in it. But it's also, I found out that the Hebrews had the breastplate often as a breastplate of judgment, and these 2 stones were placed in it called the Urim and the Thummim, and they were apparently sometimes used to help to determine God's will in particular situations. So there's this amazing significance even to the breastplates and to the stones in the breastplates, and all of that. Cool. And I think it's cool.
I like it. Didn't know that stuff. I'm glad you googled that. So one thing that I wanted to sort of close on here, and it's effectively one of our catchphrases by now, as I'm sure you're aware, is that's above our pay grade. And I was sort of reading this, and it was going through it, and it's basically how that's above my pay grade must Aaron have felt going through this. Like suddenly he's got people, don't get it, Exodus 29:20, slaughter this ram, put some of its blood on his right earlobe, his right thumb, and his right big toe of him and his sons. He must have been like, what have I signed up for here? Like, we don't know much about Aaron's backstory other than he stayed with the Israelites and Moses with Egypt. But the only reason he got called was because he can talk. And suddenly he's in balls deep, excuse the terminology. He must be like, this is so above my pay grade. What am I doing here? And what I take from that is a good friend of mine, Steve Lamb. You won't mind his name. He uses a phrase quite a lot, and I love it. And it's basically, God doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called. It doesn't matter what walk of life you're from. Like you and me, we know nothing about YouTube. We know nothing about podcasting. I've been a Christian my whole life. I only read the Bible for the first time last year. We are not qualified to do this, but God qualifies the called. We felt called to do this, and he does that. He does the rest. You just be faithful. With that, we're going to end. Thank you for listening. Feel free to visit the Facebook page, 2 Brits and a Bible.
And please consider liking and subscribing to help spread the word of God.